The events take place in Ireland in 1964. The guests are having fun at a wedding. At one point, Kevin tells his cousin named Margaret that he wants to show her something. However, when they were alone, he kissed her. Margaret pushed him away, but the guy was very persistent and made her do it. When it was over, Kevin came out to the guests, as did Margaret. The girl in tears told one of the women what had happened. When the father of Margaret learned of this, he sought advice from the priest. In the meantime, the girl continued to cry helplessly. The next day the disgruntled father woke his daughter early in the morning and told her to pack. Margaret's brother was a witness to this. Later, he saw from the window how his sister was being taken somewhere. Next we are told the story of Bernadette, who lives in an orphanage. Two other girls brushing her hair, ask her if it is a sin to be beautiful. Bernadette replied that it was not, for the Virgin Mary was beautiful too. During the day the local guys flirted with Bernadette, asking her to kiss them. Of course, the girl had no intention of doing that, but she certainly enjoyed the signs of attention from the boys. This was noticed by the director of the orphanage. Soon after, Bernadette's bed was empty. The third story is about Rose, who gave birth to a child out of wedlock. The girl begged her mother to look at the grandchild at least once, but the woman was adamant, for the daughter had disgraced the family. Rose was called by the father, who had already informed the priest of what had happened. The family, against the daughter's wishes, intended to give the baby up for adoption. Rose had no choice but to sign the documents. However, as the nurse and priest carried the child away, Rose cried and begged not to take him away from her, but the father grabbed the daughter and would not let her run after the son. All three girls were brought to the Mary Magdalene Asylum and taken to Sister Bridget, who told them that they would have to work hard, pray and deprive themselves of all pleasures in order to atone for their sins. Only in this way can a fallen soul be purified, as it once was for Mary Magdalene, a sinner who became a saint. Margaret interrupted Sister Bridget to say she wanted to get out of here, but the nun told her to be quiet. None of them will leave here in the next many years. Bridget's sister also decided that from now on Rose's name would be Patricia, for the parents had disowned her. Sister Bridget had already learned about Bernadette from the director of the orphanage, who was a good friend of hers. The girls were taken to the laundry room where they would have to do the hard work. In the evening before going to bed, they were made to kneel down and read a prayer. Patricia couldn't sleep for a long time. Feeling sick, she asked Bernadette to help her walk to the bathroom. Patricia was losing her breast milk, so she was in great pain and almost fainted. A girl who has been in the asylum for quite some time advised Patricia to endure the pain, because the nuns hate it when something like this happens to their pupils. The girls were awakened early in the morning and asked if any of them had seen Una O'Connor. The girls said nothing, and then the nun took them to breakfast. The servings of the girls were meager, unlike those of the nuns who ate breakfast separately. In the afternoon the girls continued their hard work in the laundry room. Katie, who had worked here for 40 years, made sure they didn't talk to each other. A nice girl named Crispina spoke to Bernadette, but Katie silenced them. She also told them that one of the nuns was in big trouble because of Una's escape. Katie calls the girls selfish, for they don't care about the reputation of nuns. Now the sister who fell asleep on duty and failed to keep an eye on Una will be sent to Africa, where she will have to work with lepers. At night Margaret prepared to make her escape, but when she heard screams, she quickly returned to bed. The angry father dragged his daughter Una here, saying she no longer had a home. She had disgraced the family and was now doomed to stay in this place for the rest of her life. Una begged the father not to leave her here, but he just left. What happened made Margaret give up the idea of running away, for she found herself in a similar situation. On certain days of the week Seamus and his assistant Brendan come to the asylum to drop off dirty laundry. While hanging clothes, Patricia saw a woman with a child outside the gate. It turned out to be Crispina's sister and her 2-year-old son. The mother and son wore identical medallions with the icon of St. Christopher. Seeing Bernadette, Brendan began to make lewd hints at her. She responded rather rudely. Crispina confessed to Patricia that she didn't even know her child's name. In fact, Crispina is not even her real name, just something Sister Bridget called her. When Brendan approached Bernadette with an indecent proposal, she rebuffed him. Meanwhile, Crispina said that she ended up here shortly after the baby was born. The sister was forbidden to see Crispina, but sometimes she came to the gate to show her the child. The St. Christopher medallions are the only thing that connects Crispina with her son. Bernadette uncompromisingly demanded to see Sister Bridget. For disobedience, she and Crispina were taken to the nun who was just shaving Una bald. Bernadette only wanted to know why she was here. The girl thought she had done nothing wrong, but Sister Bridget was of a different opinion. According to her, all women should be pious and not plunge men into temptation. As punishment, the girls each received several strokes of the birch. Una tried to pick her hair up from the floor, but the nun told her to stop. She was pleased with the punishment, for now the girl would not try to escape from here like that. At night, Bernadette told Patricia that she would do anything to escape. They were not slaves and did not deserve such a life. Bernadette took action and responded to Brendan's flirtations the very next day. She invited him to run away from the city together and get married. Of course, Brendan took the idea without enthusiasm, then Bernadette let him look under her dress to convince. This obscene spectacle was witnessed by Katie. She intended to tell Sister Bridget everything, but Bernadette caught up with her and threatened to hurt herself if she didn't keep it a secret. Katie was afraid to take such a sin, so she gave in to the blackmail. During the night as arranged, Brendan snuck onto the territory of the asylum, stealing Seamus's backdoor keys ahead of time. Bernadette meanwhile escaped from the common room and raced to the lower floor. At the last moment, however, Brendan changed his mind and did not open the door for her. Once his brother stole apples from nuns and got 6 years in prison. So if anyone found out that he was involved in Bernadette's escape, his life would be over. Brendan left, and the nuns caught Bernadette and punished severely for disobedience by shaving her hair. Bernadette resisted, not wanting to give up simply for nothing. When she looked at her reflection in the mirror, she realized there was no escape. Days and weeks and months passed. The girls labored hard, deprived of all worldly pleasures. They prayed every night before going to bed, while the nuns profited from their toil. One day the asylum received a donation of washing machines, which should have made the work of the pupils easier. As the girls showered, the nuns mocked them, teasing them about their overweight and other physical shortcomings. Crispina couldn't stand it and cried. In the evening she soaked her shirt in ice-cold water, put it on, and went to bed, kissing the medallion with St. Christopher. The next day during breakfast, Crispina felt chills and nearly fainted. The nun told Margaret to take Crispina to bed. The girl was so ill that she did not notice how she dropped her pendant. Bernadette secretly put it in her pocket. Margaret brought dry sheets. Crispina became hysterical when she realized that her St. Christopher was missing. Margaret promised her that she would find it. When she left, crying, Crispina took the sheet and went to the bathroom. Seeing Crispina's sister and son at the gate, Patricia tried to gesture to them that she was ill. Meanwhile, Margaret caught Crispina in the bathroom. She was crying and about to commit a rash act, but Margaret persuaded her to go to bed, promising again that she would find the pendant. Crispina fears that she is now going to hell, for she has deliberately harmed herself. At night Margaret notices that Crispina is not in bed. It turned out that she had tried to leave her life voluntarily, but the girls had prevented her from doing so. Margaret tried to cheer Crispina up, but Bernadette said there was no need to get her hopes up for nothing, for she would never really get out of here and see her son. When everyone fell asleep, Bernadette was about to put the pendant to Crispina under her pillow, but when she saw her smiling in her sleep, she changed her mind. The next day, when the girls were taken outside, Margaret happened to see Crispina doing lewd things with the priests. Sister Bridget announced that Una had decided to become a nun, the highest of virtues. Looking at the priest preaching, Margaret could not help but think of what he had been doing recently with Crispina. Today there was a feast at Magdalene Asylum, and everyone was having fun. Margaret whispered in Crispina's ear that the priest was not a man of God. Then she discreetly left to pick some allergenic herbs. Hearing extraneous noises, Margaret hid. Waiting for the nun to leave, she emerged from her hiding place and saw that the gate was open. It was a chance to escape, but Margaret did not take it, knowing that no one was waiting for her at large. At dinner, Crispina rebuked Margaret for making a promise she could not keep. While everyone was reciting a prayer, Margaret came into the common room and turned all the beds upside down, finding the pendant under Bernadette's mattress. Margaret attacked Bernadette, who took from Crispina the only thing she had left. None of the girls tried to intervene. At night Patricia asked Bernadette why she did it. The girl motivated her action by the fact that Crispina had not suffered enough. That's exactly what they're here for. The next day Margaret threw the allergenic weed into the washing machine along with the priest's cassock. Soon there was a celebration. The nuns and pupils of the asylum went out into town in their ceremonial robes, escorted by guards. As the priest was reciting a prayer, his whole body suddenly began to itch. The priest undressed in front of the entire public. The girls could not help smiling. Crispina began to exhibit exactly the same symptoms, indicating her indecent relationship with the priest. Crispina began shouting loudly to the priest that he was not a man of God. The people were stunned. At night, Crispina was awakened by the nun informing her that she was being sent to a psychiatric clinic. Crispina began to resist. Margaret was afraid to say it was partly her fault. Eventually the orderlies took screaming Crispina away. It's Christmas time. Each girl received a tangerine for the occasion. In honor of the holiday, the pupils from the Magdalene Asylum were shown movies on a projector. At this time, Margaret's grown-up brother visits the asylum. He is here to take his sister home. The nun tried to stop him, but the guy didn't care. Seeing the brother, Margaret couldn't believe she will finally getting out of here. The girl had been here for 4 years, and having packed, she went to the exit. In the corridor, Margaret blocked Sister Bridget's way, saying she wouldn't budge. The nun was offended that the girl had not made way for her. One day Katie felt ill. Apparently, she didn't have long to live. Bernadette was assigned to take care of her. The girl made no secret of the fact that she wished Katie the worst fate. The woman recalls the mother telling her not to get close to the soldiers. After Katie gave birth to a son, she ended up in this asylum. Katie thought the mother would come back for her, but their family was too poor. Bernadette had no sympathy for the woman, saying that both the sisters and she were indifferent to her fate. Meanwhile, Patricia went to Sister Bridget asking permission to send her son a birthday card. The nun thought the idea extremely foolish and told to help her find the key to the safe. Patricia saw it under the dresser, but did not tell. Patricia returned to her work. When she noticed Crispina's son and sister outside the gate, she approached them to tell them what had happened. However, the nun prevented Patricia from speaking to the woman. Katie passed away. Bernadette said she got what she deserved and kissed her on the forehead. Patricia was severely punished for attempting to speak to someone from the outside world. This was seen by Bernadette, who came to tell the nun that Katie had passed away. At night, Bernadette told Patricia that if they stayed here, they would suffer the same fate as Katie. No one would come for them, so they must run now. Patricia was very afraid, but she knew that Bernadette was right. Having broken down the door, the girls began to look for the key. Sister Bridget tried to stop them, but could not. The girls fled and the nuns rushed after them. So Bernadette took a heavy object and threatened them, forcing them to hide in the room. Once free, the girls ran to the city and asked for help from a random woman who was happy to shelter them. Several months passed. Having said goodbye to the kind woman who had given them clothes, money and shelter, Rose was about to leave for England, for Liverpool. Both for her and for Bernadette, a new life was beginning. Bernadette, by the way, learned to be a hairdresser. Now she is not afraid of nuns, because she is a respectable person who can take care of herself. The girls said their goodbyes. One day Bernadette was hiding from the rain under a canopy and saw the nuns. To spite them, the girl loosened her gorgeous regrown hair. Further, the voiceover tells us about the real characters of this story. Bernadette soon moved to Scotland, where she opened her own hairdressing salon. She was married 3 times. Rose married and had 2 daughters. She found her son 33 years after he was taken from her. Margaret became an elementary school teacher and then vice principal. She never married. Crispina, whose real name was Harriet, passed away in a psychiatric hospital of anorexia in 1971. In all this time, approximately 30,000 women have been affected by the Mary Magdalene asylums. The last one closed in 1996.